Hello, folks. Welcome to yet another stream on putting my TDD game, that thing, putting it online, making an online version. So we're making progress. Sometimes it just feels slow, like why am I not done yet? But we're getting there. So let's go here. And look at this. So what I'm working on right now, so this is again, for those of you who are relatively new, this is the second version of my mock-up. There'll be further iterations of it. And what we're working on now is the game has been created. You have joined the game, and now you're waiting for other players to join before you start the game. So we're sort of in basically building this. Right now I'm kind of thinking of it as a modal dialogue where you'll see information about maybe a little bit about the, what the game was called if it had a name, and then basically who's joined, things like that. So let's go look at our code. So we were looking at when you get to the in progress game page, which is currently at the game endpoint, although we know pretty soon we're going to need some identifier for games. Right now, game itself as an entity does not have an identifier. It's also an aggregate root. So we'll probably need to put a real ID in there at some point. But for now, we do have a unique identifier, which is this string here that's the handle of the game. And I think I decided I was going to stick with that for a while. What we need is to add that as a path parameter. So when we redirect from I'm joining this game, that becomes part of the path parameter. So yeah. So let's go and run just our IO free tests. The reason I'd want another identifier is one that's more database friendly, because identifiers that are, although it's changing now, like, now you can have a UUID as an identifier, as a primary key column, and databases are getting much better at indexing that. The other thing is this game handle is actually not 100%. I have to look at the spec, but I don't think it's 100% guaranteed to be globally unique. Because there is a limited number of words that it uses. So it has sort of an adjective and an animal name, and then a number. I don't believe it is meant to be 100% unique. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'll have to look at the spec. The idea is that it's human readable. I'm okay with repetition, with sort of another game that happens to have the same name if it's, one different from one that was a long time ago. But that's mainly why is, and then if you get into foreign key situations, then it's a lot easier to just use an internal identifier. Hey, Jonas! Subscribe for 3 months. Woohoo! There we go. Hit the right key. Well, so when I use the word globally unique, I mean it in terms of globally unique in my database. But there's no guarantee. there's no like a UUID is guaranteed to be unique anywhere, but also certainly in your database. Whereas something that's randomly generating things, random numbers are especially pseudo-random, it could be repeated unintentionally. So I mean, I'll probably do some checking anyway, so that when I create it, when I try to save it, or do a search to make sure it's not already in there. But again, it's sort of not. My goal for having this readable name was to be readable, as well as unique among currently available games to join. Yeah, so let me click here for a second and click that. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to use the handle. What are we failing? Yes, we're failing here, but I think I want to take a step back. So this gets redirected from here. So when you join, I guess technically this doesn't have to be a request param. This could be a path param. I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I do want, though, is I want to redirect where this goes to whatever the handle was. So let's go and modify that test. That would be the game joiner test. And what we'd like is it to not just redirect to game, but redirect to game that matches this game handle. In fact, let's pull this out into a variable just to make it clear that that's what it is. So this will, in fact, let me go put, so you all probably can't hear it, or hopefully you can't hear it, but they're doing a lot of tree trimming, which involves a lot of noisy chainsaws and tree munchers and stuff, and it's been driving me crazy all morning. Let's disable this test. And we'll go back here. And then, so this will fail because we're not using the game handle at all. And that's as expected. We could hard code this, but there's no point in that. We'll just tack on game handle. There is sort of an assumption here that the game handle exists. This join will blow up if the game handle does not exist. Yeah, so that'll blow up. We probably want a better way to handle that, but for now that's fine. Okay, so that's fine. So Jonas asks, how do you deal with having layouts, header, content, footer? Don't want to manually import header, footer in each file. I mean, I don't do a lot with fragments, but fragments should be what you want. So you'd have a fragment for the header, a fragment for the footer. There is also a way, again, I don't do it that much. Just trying to think. There's yeah, I mean, I think fragments would be fine. So you might have the fragment be more of a container, and then the content is then provided by a different fragment. I'm definitely not an expert in that area. I would if you don't already have it, Wim de Blauw's book on taming time leaf is probably my go-to for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I haven't done a lot with time leaf where I've got a lot of pages that require the same kind of thing. So I haven't done a lot with that. I'm trying to think of the, yeah, I barely use fragments, and I don't use much in the way of the layout stuff. But that's also a good question to ask on the Discord. Okay, so this test passes. We'll do a commit. Oh my, we haven't done a commit in a while. That's bad. I feel like we changed a bunch of things. Yeah, I think we pretty much just did a rename of game view to game lobby view. That was the big thing. And I must have done some other stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's commit. Yeah, I did a couple of updates to Nightbot, so it didn't sound like so because he was taking credit for all my work. So I'm glad you noticed. All right, so that's working. So now we can go back to here, turn this off, and this now fails. So what we want is we want this to be the game handle. So we're going to need to pass that in here. But I think we're first actually going to need to go to the MVC test. This failed. This should currently pass. Unless I missed something. Yeah, okay, that passes. Spring Boot 3.3.0 was released today, and I was going to put on the list to upgrade to that. I tried the release candidates. They worked fine, so I'll probably do that at some point. Hey there, I am nothing without you. Thank you. Yeah, some professors, one thing I've learned is that they are not usually incentivized to be good teachers. That's often not why they get hired. It's unfortunate. I know here in the US, there's some really good teachers, but there are also a lot of mediocre teachers, and then there's a lot of those who see teaching as something they have to do because they really want to just do research or something else. At least in the US, that's the nature of the academic industrial complex, as it were. All right, so we're gonna need to, okay, you weren't supposed to make that sound. That's telling me I have to stream. Let me click here. There we go. So I think I want to start at this endpoint. Well, basically, we'll probably need to auto wire the game store to put in. I'm going to do this second. So I'm going to leave this here. I know I'm going to have to fix this test because I know I'm going to have to add in the game handle here. So this should still pass because basically it's going to be ignored. Ham handle, no, game handle. And this should still pass. Okay. And IntelliJ is saying that we should create a path variable for this. So let's go do that. Now, if you know Spring MVC, if you know Spring Boot, if you know, basically if you know about it, you know that it will take the name of this variable and match it to this path param variable name here. So this is a variable name here, and it needs to match that. By default, it will use the variable name. The problem with using the variable name is if you rename the variable, but you don't rename this, you've got a problem. I don't like having that magic connection between the two, so I always add the string there. So that way it's really clear what the handle is. Let's run the MVC tests. Right, I didn't do this as... IntelliJ did not do this as a signature change. Man. But that's okay. We only have it in one place. And actually, in this case, we do want that. In fact, let's pull it out here as game handle. And then we'll add it here. Excellent. Let's do a commit on this. Now, this test will still not work. So let's go. There we go. Let's run the IO free tests. And so this one fails again, of course, as expected, because we've hard-coded handle right here. So we should be able to now change the test. Sorry, change the code so that the test fails differently. And this is something I do differently than others do, and whether it's better or not, it works for me. And so by changing this to this variable, this test will still fail. The handle will match, but the player views will still be empty. And then we can go and fix that. So let's go fix this part first. All right, so now we get the proper handle. But now we got to fix the player views, and the player views is going to have to come from somewhere. Right now, there's nowhere where it can come from. Well, it can come from the game store, but the test. Well, actually, I already put stuff in there, so never mind. It actually should work. So now we just. So instead of an empty list, let's pull this out into a variable. This is our player views. And so instead of an empty list, we'll go and grab from the game store, find by handle, game handle. And Cody seems to have dreamed up and hallucinated some methods. Cody should know better. I don't use getters, so that should just be players. Except it's not. So we find by handle. What do we get from that? We have to do a get first because it's an optional. So we're going to do an or else throw. And then, so let's do that. So find by handle gives us an optional. We'll throw and we'll fix that. We get the players, we stream those, we map, except again, Cody is hallucinating a method that doesn't exist. We want to map player view. In this case, actually, in this case, I have no idea what player view is. It's just a record. And it takes the player's name, and that's all we have in the view. Oh, I know where it hallucinated it didn't hallucinate the from, it got confused. It saw the from over here, is my take. Because this does return a list of player views. So in fact, this method, now remember, I actually wanted to move over into player view as a static method so that this would then work. But this takes actually a list of players. So we can avoid this and say this is a list of players. And then this would be the from. Okay. So let's move this over. Would you like to make this method from static and then move? Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, every time I do this, I forget that this is a bug. We've reached our quota for the stream. This has been a long-standing one. I consider it a bug. I don't know if IntelliJ considers it a bug. I have to go look to see if I ever filed it. I don't believe I did. So notice what happened is it said, there's no, would you like to make method from static and then move? And then move. Then move. So my expectation based on the and then move is, yes, make it static. And then it would present me with this dialog, which it did not. So attempt to move non-static helped me make it static, but then didn't provide the and then move part. So we want to move this to player view. And we'll go ahead and refactor. And then this becomes player view from player views. See, I'm just thinking about like what was going on behind the scenes with Cody that it suggested that. It predicted the future, but that's not helpful if it doesn't get me to the future on its own. All right, so that works. So we've got player view, we've got game, and if we look at game, we've got player view name. That's the only thing we currently have in there. So let's run the app. So I'll log in. I'll log in first as Blue. You need to stop doing that. We'll host a game. And we'll then join the game. And this is who's here. Let me new up another window. Actually, I need to open up an incognito window or private window. Localhost. The login is yellow. And I need to stop that. So we see there's a player count of 1. So we should be able to join that game. And we see that they're both there. Now, because we're not using WebSockets yet, if we look at blue screen, of course, we don't see any different. So that will be our, I think we're here. I think we're at the point where now we can start incorporating HTMX for ease of WebSocket usage. So there are two things that I want to happen when that other player joined, which was, just make this fit a bit more. So what I want to happen is, well, certainly this should appear. What I also want to see is basically a message. So update this, but also a message that, hey, yellow nickname just joined. Not sure what I want to show on yellow side. It might be just nothing. Do I want to show sort of all the notifications from when the game started, or do I want to just show basically what's happened since you've joined? I'm not sure the past is interesting yet. So I think it'll just be show, basically show just what's new since you joined. So so when yellow joins, they won't see any notifications, but blue will see both yellow pop up as well as a notification saying yellow joined. So that's the plan. And then at some point, I need to add a start button. It might also be close to time, and maybe I'll do that at the end of towards the end of today's session, is put it into production. Oh, timestamp of those notifications would be interesting. Yes. Would that be enough? Trying to find where's my red pen? I was just reading another post about time zones and stuff, and it's just such a mess. I generally don't like relative time, but in this case it might be useful. So for example, yellow joined 3 minutes ago. The downside to that is once time goes by, that's out of date. And that's one of the problems with relative time. So never mind. I'm not going to use relative time. It will show the time for now in whatever's convenient, but eventually it'll show the time in either based on your browser locale, or I will also be adding things like what time zone are you in, or what time zone should we think you're in, to your profile. So eventually the member profile will grow to have things like, besides your preferred name and other stuff, it'll be what time zone are you in. All right. Yeah, it'll definitely store it in UTC. I mean, if you want to select UTC as your time zone, that's totally fine. But I'm not going to force UTC on folks. I'm really good at doing the translation, but that's because I do it every day. And I still get it wrong sometimes. All right. So that looked good. Let's commit. Every when, yes. So this means that what we want is, instead of this kind of what I sort of think as a push model of, maybe that's the wrong thing. This is a very, I guess it's a static, it's sort of the static model, right? So it's a static page. We generate it when you ask for it, but once you've requested it, it's by definition out of date. So what we want is to use HTMX. The first thing HTMX should do when it loads, specifically when it loads this UL, is to basically ask for the players. One thing that working with especially HTMX has sort of brought back for me is this very component-based things. And in fact, you know, you can now create your own HTML components. I mean, depending on how complex they are, that's not a lot of JavaScript to write. I may eventually write my own web components, but not anytime soon. So, but we want to think about, while it'd be tempting to say, oh, let's just, reload the whole div, right? Which was basically this entire box. We want to think about it a bit more granular, in a bit more granular level. Because what we want is basically this area of who's here, and then this area of notifications. Because they will not necessarily update at the same time. So which one do I want to do first? I think the notifications one would actually be more interesting, because that's going to happen more frequently, because you're going to get connects, and then you're going to get disconnects, and then reconnects. So I think we'll do this one. So what we want is we want a WebSocket connection right up front. So I'm going to have to go remind myself how to do this. Let's go. There it is. What plugins are updated? Oh, I'll ignore those for now. All right, so we want I forgot the name of the tag. What is the name of the tag? Oh, it's an extension, right? It's no longer an HX-WS, which hasn't been true for a while. So what I want to do is let's pull in. I should probably update these. These are up to 12 now. Which means I probably want to pull in WebJars. Actually, let's do this. Let's go to HTMX. You've been trained. Let's all go to so let's grab this, and we'll go actually I guess I'll leave view open. View I can close. No, I'll leave you open too. Come on. There you are. So let's go to the top and put in that Sure, we'll download the library. We also want the WebSocket extension. Except they haven't updated this because this is no longer the case. It uses the extension. Yeah. It was already deprecated, but I guess in HTMX 2.0, which is actually now out in beta, they'll make it official. So let's grab this. Why is there no copy button? Arg. Is there really no copy button here? Sigh. I don't know what Cody's thinking here, but it's not right. Let's go download that one. Even though we'll eventually go to WebJars just because that's easier to manage from a Spring Boot and deployment model. This will get us up and running quicker. I'm also probably... So I am, to be honest, I'm a little undecided about sort of using Tailwind in my final version. I like the initial experience of playing around with Tailwind, but since I don't have a good component mechanism, there ends up being a lot of repetition. I may combine the two, so I won't put them as classes directly on the... I won't put the raw Tailwind classes directly on the elements, but pull them together into a separate CSS file. But for now, I'll leave it as Tailwind. All right, so we've got our HTMX, we've got our WebSocket extension, and now what we need is somewhere... we could probably just connect when the page loads. I think that's fine. So let's do that. So where do we want to connect to? We'd like to connect to... What should my endpoint be? It could just be WS. It could be... it might be easier if... I'm going to need to keep track of what game you've connected to. So I probably want to connect to something like game handle WS, something like that. We actually have that information here. How do I put that when I connect? Oh, I guess I can just do a th in front of it. So th, and then we basically do something like that, and then handle. I think that'll work. I know before my next stream, or maybe in my next stream, I have to get some testing in place for the output of the templates, and that does not mean the Spring-based testing, because I don't need this to go through Spring. I just need to hand Timeleaf a model. Yes, that's correct, that the WebSocket would connect when you join the game. Because currently the lobby, I am not planning on the lobby being WebSocket-based anytime soon. So once you connect to the game, this is the page you will stay on forever, or at least during the game. Once the game starts, the dialogue goes away. So pretty much just like the mock-up, the dialogue that we saw will be over here, but the background of the game will be there. And then once the game is started, you're now on the game page. You haven't left it. It's just stuff disappears. That's my current thinking. Okay, so we have that. This connects. Let's go run it. So we'll go host a game. We'll go join the game. And now we can go inspect. And we can look at, yes. This was inserted just as I desired. So that's all I needed to know. So the WebSocket connected. It did not work because there's no place for the WebSocket to connect to, so we probably see some console errors, and indeed we do. That is not surprising. So I tried to connect to localhost game, the game handle, WebSocket, but that's what I expected. I don't know if that's what y'all expected, but that totally works for me. Let's go off this page because I don't want to try and connect anymore. Okay. So what next? So we connect to the WebSocket. Who's feeling like a sequence diagram? Anybody? Is it just me? I'm feeling like a sequence diagram. Sequence. I find it interesting that sequence is the first. I don't know what order it's using for ordering these options, but it's interesting that that's first. So we're gonna say sequence, and what we want is this is it might be the most often used, but then why is use case second? I do not believe that use case is the second most widely used. So I see a lot of sequence diagrams. I don't see enough of them, but I see a lot of them. All right. So what we want is, I don't want auto. Do I want auto numbering? Yeah, I figure if you've used PlantUML, you have I feel like it's likely that you've either used sequence or you've used class, but even class I don't think is that popular. Um, so I think sequence is probably the most common. For me, sequence and state machines are my main thing. Okay. So player, no. Yes, they are a player at player. So what am I modeling here? I'm modeling the WebSocket connections. So browser, server, WebSocket, connect. Oh, look, Cody's going to help me with this. Yeah, but that's not terribly useful. What else you got, Cody? Cody's out of ideas. This is, yes, correct, but I don't really care. What I want is once you connect, I want to update what do I want to update? I want to update the, what do I call it? Players joined? What the heck did I call it? Who's here? Cody's reading some other files, isn't it? So update the who's here unordered list. Um, and I decided it would not load the history of node. Did I decide that? What did I decide? I think right now that's a nice to have, right? I need to keep focused. Like, what's the minimum I need? Yes, it would be nice to know what happened before I joined, but that is not required. I think that's it, other than I'm going to do this in it. These aren't really sequence diagrams. I'm not sure what to call it. Yes, there's a sense of sequence, but the things that I'm talking to are not really objects. Here's what I mean. So there's browser to server. That's fine. But the way I'm thinking about this diagram is the server is targeting which of course isn't a sequence diagram structure. So I may have to do that. But it's basically, I'm targeting a specific element. So let's see. Actually, I'm just going to call it who here component. The fact that it's an unordered list is an implementation detail. I don't think I want auto number. Actor? No, it's not an actor. I mean, I guess it's an actor. Crap, I don't remember what the name. Yeah, it is. It is very much a message diagram. I don't know that. Oh, I guess there's our order for why it was in that order. That must be because that's the way PlantUML has it ordered up here. So, technically it's a boundary, but I don't really care about that. I'm just gonna call it participants. And participant browser. So what's the other component I want? Cody's getting cocky. It's like, oh, I know what you want. So we've got the who here and we've got the notifications. So can I nest my participants? How would I do that? All right. I don't want to rabbit hole too much or rat hole on that. Okay, so actually this is player one connects, and player one is an actor. Can I have two actors? Sure. So player one connects. And then maybe I don't introduce them just yet. And so now player two connects to the server. But player two is an actor. So let's put it down here. No, let's put it up there. So player two does a connect, and what the server does is target who here with an updated list of players in the game. Let's be specific now. So it's basically player one, player two. Here it's player one. In addition, it targets the notifications. Player two joined. Sure. I guess technically, if this is the case, then this is player one has joined, so you see a notification that you've joined in addition to seeing you in the list. At some point I can filter it out so you don't see notifications that you caused. But I think this is what I want. I kind of like the action being uppercase. That's why the join is uppercase. And then I don't really need the has. Meh. You can submit a PR. And I will not accept it. I think that's what I want. This was, I needed this to sort of get out there what kind of because what we're doing is something happens, I need to broadcast over the WebSocket. So that goes to everybody who's connected. And that's why I'm not targeting any specific players. In a sense, I'm not targeting any specific player just yet. When we're in the game, that's going to be a totally different situation, because now I'm going to need to target different players differently, which is going to be interesting. Okay, so that means now I can move a little bit forward in this. So we're going to want an endpoint. We're going to want application layer to trigger these things. So maybe let's go a step further. Player one WebSocket connect to the server. Do we know who they are? So how do I identify a WebSocket connect? Or more precisely, how do I associate a WebSocket connect with a player? Do I get a principal? Well, I'm wondering, do I need to transmit that from the browser, or can I trust, or does WebSocket, now I got to look at the Spring stuff. These components are browser side components. If I could color them differently, that might help. Or maybe I use them as boundaries. Do you want to call them boundary? I guess this is also a boundary. So let's take a look at let's see. So we've got the where is that's not it. I want the WebSocket. The WebSocket broadcaster, that's what I want. We can close that. Yeah, I didn't want to color the messages. I actually wanted to color the headers, I guess. But then I realized I don't want to color them. Just the shape is fine. So let's see. So when we connect, where is the connect stuff? So that's this part. So that is after connection established, we get a WebSocket session. what is in that? I assume it's a standard WebSocket session. I am not sure. So let's go look at the docs. That's not what I want. Actually, what I can do. There we go. So let's go to Spring. Not Spring Data. I think we just want Spring MVC. So let's look for WebSocket. So WebSocket API, WebSocket handler, handshake. What I want is basically security. I guess technically this is not web MVC. So Spring WebSocket security principle. What does that bring up? Take a look at that in a second. So yeah, I did the color after that. That's what I did. Reuse the same authentication is found in HTTP request when the WebSocket connection is made, so that's good. If using Spring Security, the principal on the server request is overridden automatically. Okay. All this is set up is okay. That's all config. I think I'm already configured. Do I need those? This does not look quite simple to me. I really wish, like, documentation writers would not use that phrase. It might be straightforward, but it is not simple, because this ain't simple. What I want to know is, how do I get the principal when the WebSocket connects? That's what I want to know. So that's the Spring messaging abstraction. I don't think I'm using the Spring messaging abstraction. Yeah, so we got the principal through, where was it? Through another get mapping. So I can put the principal here and Spring will inject that. The question is when I connect, I just get a WebSocket session. I don't know. Oh, never mind. There it is. Duh. Wish they just said that. All right. That's all I need to know. So it's already in the session. So hallelujah. All right. So now we can go back here and we can basically say, sorry, go back here. So we know who they are. So when basically this WebSocket connect happens, it carries security principal. Which is exactly what we need, because then we can go look it up in our member store and get that information. Well, on the flip side, 5 minutes of looking at the actual object can save me hours of reading documentation that doesn't have what I want. This is something that I do need to, once I finish this, is extract this into my WebSocket tutorial. Okay, great. So now when we connect, we know who you are. We can associate that. Probably just want to load that up. Yeah, this is not a traditional sequence diagram. Usually you see sequence diagrams where the things at the top are actual classes. This is more about a sort of a messaging, which messages go where. But I find them really, really handy to figure out, especially when it's not just sort of back and forth between two things. It's like go here and then broadcast out here, and then sometimes get stuff from different places. So any tool that sort of forces you to put on outside your head is useful. This is one of those where and this is just a hard problem to solve. This is one of those cases where it's the answer to my query about where is the principal is that a Spring security question or is that a Spring framework question? And it's like, yes, it's both. And that's why it's like, where do I look? But all right, so now we've got that figured out. So when we get the page, we're pretty much going to do nothing. Because we're not going to need to do any of this. Unless I decide that I kind of want to paint the game background in sort of one fell swoop. Or let the WebSocket populate that in the background. Yeah. Yeah, I always think it's worth drawing a diagram. PlantUML is convenient because it's here and it did exactly what I needed it to do. I have to look to see. I haven't seen anybody do it yet. Now I'm going to go look because, of course, we're all about tangents. So there's a Excalidraw integration. But there is not integration with my preferred whiteboard system, which is TLDR. But the Excalidraw integration is interesting. But has not been updated in quite some time, which is too bad. Because what I'd love is I'd love integration, right? All editors eventually accumulate behavior until they're also pull in your email. JetBrains IntelliJ hasn't quite reached that yet, but TLDraw is my preferred. No, basically Excalidraw is very similar to TLDraw. In fact, most people use Excalidraw. I prefer TLDraw. I use Excalidraw occasionally. So what's nice is basically it's the idea of sort of an infinite canvas. So you can basically put everything into one, and then it's like, where is everything? I don't like Excalidraw. There's some aspects of the usability of Excalidraw that I don't like. I find TLDraw to be a bit smoother in some ways, although I do like there's something, it's like I want the best of both. That's the problem. All right. So we're not going to do this anymore. Instead, what's the first thing we want to do then is oh, that's handy. Is we'd like to take care of basically this scenario. So you connect, and the WebSocket updates the who's connected, who's here. Yeah, same here, Astrid. Because especially if you're on a team, you don't want to have to go far to figure out where's the diagram. You want it right in place. So what would the test for this be? Upon connect, we get a WebSocket session. So that's technical. But at some point we register them with, so somewhere in the application layer, they're going to connect, they're going to join. Interesting. So there's sort of two things happening. There's the player has joined the game. The player has joined the game. So that's this thing. They have joined the game. But at this point, we have no idea if they've actually had a WebSocket connection. Do we want to change that? So this join is sort of a logical join. Like, you have joined the game. I don't know if you're paying attention. I don't know if your browser's working. I don't know if you're still connected to my server. But you're part of the game. You can go away and come back, and that's fine. So the WebSocket management is separate, and the session management. So there's session management, and then there's game management. Under normal circumstances, it will happen right away. Right. So we got here by coming from the endpoint join. So let's maybe add this to our sequence. So we've got player one. This goes to, what is it? Game joiner. And game joiner is a controller. but it's light blue. And it's much higher there. Nope, not that high. It's there. Actually, it's there. I'm gonna have to change server. Server is no longer server. Server is you're gonna hate me for this, Astrid manager. So the player one post to join endpoint. When I write the class, I'll add that. So the first thing that happens, maybe I want to turn. Do I want to turn on the auto numbering? What does that look like? Sure. And so then game joiner sends back to player one redirect to game handle. Isn't session management implied in WebSocket Manager? It might be, but I want to be a little bit explicit about that. So let's actually now rename this. Can I rename this? Will that work? WebSocket. WebSocket Manager. So you click on the post button. Click on the post button. Click on the join button, which does a post. So that's this. Game joiner redirect, but actually before it does that, what it does is it talks to player joins game. So let's go create another controller. Although it's not a controller, it's boundary controller entity. So this is basically our application layer. This is actually not our peach. Light orange. Dang, what is the color? Light All right, I'll stick it as orange for now. This is actually blue. Because technically this is our adapter. Right now I'm just going to say participant. Oh, that's terrible. We'll go with light blue. Okay, so you click the button, that sends to the controller that sends to the controller, I'm joining the game. We then tell the application layer that the player joined the game. At this point, they have not joined the WebSocket session. When we redirect them, then they connect to the WebSocket. So that happens here, whereas they are part of the game here, and we persist that. So this is permanent, in a sense. This is transitory. So you can disconnect and connect, but you are still part of the game. That's why I'm sort of think about this. This is the logical part of the game. This is sort of the physical manifestation of it. Okay. So do I want to then check that the player who joined the WebSocket, who connected with the WebSocket, is actually in the game? And there's some other thoughts that I now have. And again, this is probably getting into the nice to have. So the only reason I might check this is like somehow you got to the page without joining because you knew the endpoint. And I'll be like, who are you? Why are you here? You're in the wrong place. But again, that's, so I think I'd need that, but I think that's a nice to have. What's more interesting is, there's actually two pieces of information that I have per player. One is, hey, yellow's joined, but they're not here yet. Versus because once they join, and it should be pretty much right away, but it could be if they got disconnected, we're still expecting them, so maybe they had some trouble. But there really is sort of two aspects. But what this is currently meaning is who is connected. So there's joined and there's connected, and those are two different things. They will probably happen very close in time, but they are two different things. Hey, Sweetie. Yeah, I'm about to do that. So there's joined and there's connected. All right, Jonas, have a good night. So hand over your shift. Yep. So Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So there's joining a game and there's connecting to a game. So you could potentially join multiple games. Um, so you can join multiple games, but you may only need or want to be connected to one of them. Why you do that? Maybe you're facilitating multiple games. Yeah, so here's where it gets interesting. And again, but this might be needed for my minimal playable version. You could be connected to a game, but are not joined as a player. I have to say the some of the terminology overlap between this and Ensembler is really interesting. So oops. Website manager should be notifying game. That you connected. I don't think the game cares if you're connected. Yeah, so there's definitely some aspects that are like timing out. Does the game need to know about that? I guess the question is what happens if you time out? Do we... Well, so remember, this online version, the initial playable version, is not enforcing anything. So if you go away, anybody could do anything at any time. It's again, it's like it's as if you're all sitting around the table, and somebody walks off. It's not like you have to wait for them to get back before you can physically do anything. You can move cards around, you can throw them on the floor, whatever. And that's the initial idea for this, that I don't want to enforce those kinds of things, so that I don't, on the one hand, because it's more work, and on the other hand, so I don't have to deal with them at all. To Suiji's point is like, my assumption also with this initial version is that you are connected over some kind of video conferencing. So you know if somebody's gone. So because my assumption is you're playing a game as a group. I am not supporting any kind of communication between folks. You're going to use a Zoom or a Google Meet or something like that, so that you can talk to each other and discuss and say, okay, your turn, and then you go. So those are basically not at all something I care about. This is basic, again, sort of like and what I also need to sort of keep in mind is my main goal is I want folks to be able to play this remotely, as if you basically virtually, because you can do it like did it the other day. I can have somebody who hosts it, but otherwise you're still communicating and talking over video conferencing. Yes, so I think right now it's totally the WebSocket session manager's concern that people are connected or not, because it's merely a technical issue. Logically, who cares? The only thing you can't do that you could do if you were physically in the same place is I can't play cards for you or move your pawn. Yeah. Yeah, so I think right now game can be ignorant. Yep. I feel like I want to put that somewhere, but not the glossary. I'm putting it here because I don't know where else to put it just yet. But basically, for folks who are using a video okay. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we'll see what we've clarified. I think we've, now that we've differentiated between this, I think we can now start looking at the, where is it? The player joins game application, and see how we'd fit the WebSocket in. All right, Astrid, have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your assistance. And I'll see you after this coffee break, except for Astrid, who I won't see. Be right back. All right, and we're back. So that means, do I actually want, so this is the application layer. When they join and I save that they've joined, do I want to broadcast an event here? And then an additional event when they connect. So what that would mean is there would be two things here. There's, this would be more like, where is it? something like that. And then it's, well, really it's more like, whoops. Something like that with proper alignment, of course. Let's see. So what would the what would the SVG look like? Flex not fills 8, 13, doesn't matter what the colors are, but that's the idea. So when they join, we get an event. When they connect, we get another event. It's a little extra work, but I think from a troubleshooting standpoint, it's gonna be useful. Oh, hey, 404 not found. Funny you should ask. So two ways to figure that out. It's generally it's what's called file scopes and file coloring. So one thing you could look at is Suiji had submitted a PR that I had merged that provide the coloring. So you could look at that commit to see exactly what was added. The quick answer is basically some scopes were defined for each sort of layer, and then file colors was defined to basically say what colors are those. You could probably even just pull those into your own project if you wanted, just rename. Pretty much defining the scopes is going to be different because it's based on package naming. I also have a video on how to do that, so if you look at YouTube, you should be able to find it. Yes, this repo is on GitHub. It is not technically open source, but it is source available. So if you just want to look at code, it's all there for you. And that has the link to the repo. There, that's what I wanted. By the way, for those of you here watching on the stream, you probably don't need to do this. But if you're interested in being updated when I start providing early access to the game and or when I fully launch the game, you can go to that link and sign up for certainly a low volume mailing list. Although I might also sort of use that list to talk about progress on more than just an occasional kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly like the source available. Yes, technically, you can't borrow from it. you could go to Ensemble. It is the same thing. My main concern about the source available versus open source is I don't want somebody taking the game and basically launching their own service and undercutting me. Yeah, so it does mean you want, I actually think the recommendation to not commit anything under .idea is not quite true anymore because there is useful stuff under there. But I agree that mostly historical reasons, it is not easy to figure out what should be shareable and not. Yeah. So I think, so notification might be then, actually I want semi-bold to be here. Oh, those need to be P's as well. And we probably want some kind of indication of when that happened. So we'll say 1356. So hypothetically speaking, I would send them a cease and desist because they would be violating copyright. If they were a big company that had more money than I did, it would suck. But, that's the way it is in anything. It's like, even if I didn't put any license on it, it's by default copyrighted. And that hasn't prevented AI from using it as training data, which is a whole separate issue. All right, so I think this is what I want. The wording I'm not happy with, but I'll fix the wording later. Okay, so which event do I want to do first? Let's do the joined. So let's do a commit because we've done a couple things. It's amazing how much effort, like, just this is taking. Like, we haven't started the game yet, and already it's been what, 7 episodes? Yes, I am using Timeleaf. In fact, this thing on the left is a Timeleaf template. And I just added HTMX WebSocket support so we can start working on this because this is all going to be WebSocket based. Let's see. Okay, so what I want is let's do just the notifications part. So we're going to focus on this. So what I want is we're going to target this a container would help. So let's create a container for these. We'll make it a div. We'll give it an ID, and this is notification container. And what do I want? So it's going to be the target of a response from a WebSocket. So I don't think I need anything else. Yeah, I wish I wish Fleet was better. Is all I have to say to that. Okay, so no. 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 The expand select inside HTML does not work the way I want it to, and I don't know how to fix it. Okay, so do we want these events to be latest on the top or latest on the bottom? We certainly want it to expand when we get new events, right? So it'll expand. So this is always interesting. It's like, do you treat it like our chat up here, right? So latest is at the bottom, or do you treat it like social media where the latest is at the top? Any thoughts? I kind of like at the top, but if somebody has a strong opinion, let me know. So what we're going to want to do is when we target this, we're going to want to do before, what is it, after start? I always forget. Where's our HTMX docs? Oh, I'll have to open up another window. HTMX. So it's not inner HTML. Is it insert the response before the first child of the target element? So it's after begin. Okay. I think I could just put that in here. let's put that on there. Okay, great. Okay, so we know how to target it. We have an ID. We know how the swap is going to work. It's going to be after begin, so it'll go right here. We know what it's going to contain. It's going to contain a paragraph element. And that happens upon join. So we still need a WebSocket session manager. And if anybody has a better name than that, let me know. Let's close that. Close that. So we'll want that to happen basically once we save the game. So what we want is we want to broadcast do I want to do inside out here or outside in? Let's do outside in. So now let's go to and this is going to be pretty much the same structure that I did for Ensembler. So what did I do there for well, let's set up the configuration because we definitely need that. Can pretty much copy that. So where's that going to go? So that's just configuration. And so that's all good. We need a broadcaster. So our endpoint, what did we say it was? Oh, huh. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Because I thought I would have the WebSocket connect to a specific thing, but actually I don't think I want that. Because that makes, I don't even know how would you set up, oh, I don't even know if I could do that. I mean, there's probably a way, but that seems to go against the grain of having a single WebSocket thingy handler. Alrighty then. So we don't do it this way. We basically just connect to game WebSocket. And then the handler, the session manager, will just have to figure it out. So that's going to be our handler. It's going to be game. And that's okay because we know who you are, because we get the principal when you connect. We don't know which game you're connecting to. Uh, So registry add handler, what does that look like? Can I, maybe I can specify. So I can specify multiple paths, but that doesn't help me because this is during configuration. Uh, so how much do I care right now about that? So this is a problem if you want to connect to multiple games. So when you connect, okay, so what do I get when you connect? So there are some handshake headers, but that's not enough. I don't think. I get the URI. Let's see what the docs say. WebSocket. So let's see. Let's look at the WebSocket API. So that's handle text message. Register handlers. Hmm. So I guess I might. How am I going to do this? So when the browser connects, it's connecting over basically a global URL of game/WS. What I need to know is, I already know who you are, but I don't know which game you're connecting to. Because you could have joined multiple games as an observer, and now you're connecting, and so which one are you looking at? And I need to know that in the WebSocket session manager, because when I broadcast, I'm broadcasting based on the game. So when you connect, I might not be able to. So no, I can't. That's the thing, is like I can't see a way to add it to the WebSocket URL because I don't see a way to register handlers in some general way. Because it looks like it has to be hard coded, and this is config, so this is at startup. So I don't have any of the games configured. There are no games when config happens, and the docs aren't helping. And registry add handler has no useful information. It's just configure a WebSocket handler at the specified URL path. So I can pass multiple paths. But once I'm up and running, I don't know how I would be able to do that. So somewhere there's a map. So this is still configuration. Unless I do it as an interceptor. Yeah, that's where I was going, Sweetie. It's like I think I might have to do, in a sense, my own protocol. So this is kind of the downside of WebSockets. You have to basically decide on your own almost everything protocol. So here are the mappings. Yeah, so at looks like it basically adds a handler, adds an interceptor for each one. So it basically creates a new handler. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to create a new handler for each one. Yeah, all right. This will be fun. So that means when this connects, what do we do? So how do I send stuff over? Yeah, I mean that's true, Sweetie. Let's go look at the stolen quit. Go away. Let's go look at HTMX again. We want WebSocket. Where is the docs for that? Docs. WebSockets. WebSocket extension. So it's a WS send. Okay. So we do then basically HX trigger on load a WS send. Hi, here we are. We're basically game, right? Game handle, at least right now. Yeah. I need to submit another pull request or issue because it says in the example above, the form uses WS send attribute. Do you see a WS send attribute anywhere here? I don't. 404, I'm using the library directly because Wim's library doesn't do what I want. When a message has just been received. So we really want an event after connect, or I guess open. So Wim's library is all about a time leaf dialect that works well with HTMX. And it's almost exclusively about using HTMX for your typical RESTful stuff, whereas I'm using it for WebSockets. So last I looked, I don't think he had any support for basically for WebSockets, or if it was pretty minimal. And you know, this is sort of the problem with some of these libraries, like Thomas Schuler has some stuff or in this area, and the abstractions just don't fit my mental model, and so I'm going to end up writing my own library, especially around WebSockets, because there's definitely some higher level stuff that I want, regardless of actually the front end, whether it's HTMX or not. But Spring itself doesn't have the right abstractions for what I want. I don't want a high level thing like Stomp, which, you know, is a reasonable thing to do, is to say I'm gonna, you know, use Stomp, but that requires then Stomp to be supported on the front end, whereas so it's too sort of high level, and then I can't use it with HTMX. So there's nothing between sort of the WebSocket handler that I'm dealing with right now and something higher level, at least from the Spring Boot side, other than the Spring messaging based Stomp handler. Yeah, React, I mean, then you're talking about you're not using REST, and you're not using HTML generated on the server. So okay, so I think I want, so I don't want to do this on load. I want to do this when the WebSocket connects. So so we want, when this event is triggered, we would like to then do a WS. Can we do a WS send, or do I have to write HTML? No, it can be a trigger. It's not HTML, JavaScript. I forget how to do events. The events were I remember, a little bit convoluted. Let's go look at Ensembler. Yes, and I'm trying to remember how to use events. Where where did I use events? I know I use them somewhere. Maybe I didn't use them here. Ugh. All right, let's see if I can relearn how to do the event stuff. Do I have events somewhere? All right, let's go look at the reference. Events. That's just a reference. That's not going to help me. Okay, so yeah, I'm because it's the HX on that I want. Yeah, that's what I want. So HX on and then the event. The question is what I do as a response to that. I don't know that I could do a... I think I might have to write some JavaScript. Oh no. Because I can do HX on, HTMX, WS after connect. The question is, what do I do as a result of that? Unless I use hyperscript, which I don't know that I want to do. Yeah, so basically it'll be something like this. Either the colon version or the kebab case version. Yeah. Yeah, and that is what I was doing with the audio as I was executing JavaScript. So we could go let's see. Yeah, so basically I had after message where the event was the WebSocket message. And that was set up here. Yeah. So this was that. That's how I did it. But thank you for reminding me that we took that out because we found a better way. So here we can do HX on, HTMX, WS after connect, and then call what whatever, handshake, and then basically say, hey, we're connecting to this game. Which means I basically ignore the connect. I guess I don't ignore the connect. I want to record that. So one of the things I want to do from a troubleshooting when this thing is live standpoint is I want to see all the details, like your WebSocket connected. I want to see that, because then I expect right after that, join this game or connect to this game. Let's use the right terminology. Connect to game. Here's the game, and I want to see that. And then if you get disconnected, I want to see that. So I want to see those sort of low level events. Yeah, so I'll have to write JavaScript, because there is a way I could use HyperScript, but I don't know. I don't feel like I want to get into that. So let's grab this. And let's grab this. Actually, I'll just grab the whole script. So let's stick in the script up here. No, we're not going to play horns. And this is after WebSocket connects. So that's the message. I don't care about the message. I just want the WebSocket. So we wanted the WebSockets. Which event is... That's connecting. That's open. So this is the element that holds the WebSocket. Or we could get the socket wrapper. I'm not sure which I need, but it's WS open is what I want. So HX on, HTMX, after open. And this is after WebSocket connects. And I'm not sure what I'm trying to import. No, just leave it alone. Can I ignore you? Stop that. I don't know why it's trying to do that. Okay. Yep. Right. It is WS open. Thank you. Yep. So do we want the socket or the socket wrapper? The socket wrapper, it exposes a few members, sends a message safely. So it looks like we want, and it persists in, so it has a little queue. So we want to send I don't think we want to use the from element. So I think we just want to send message, and we just decide what our message is. That seems simple enough. So then we just say events dot detail dot socket wrapper dot send. And we'll do a console log. Okay. We actually want to say something here. So what's our protocol going to be? We're going to do colon and then the game handle. Fascinating. That's not what I want, but so the question is, how am I going to inject the it's probably easiest if I put an identifier somewhere. So the game handle is here, but that's easily injected anywhere. I can just put it on this div. I could submit a form from JavaScript. Because what I'd really like then is when it loads, when it connects, it could actually just submit itself. So if this were actually on a form, then it could do a wsend and submit itself. And I was thinking about this when, in the back of my head, one nice little feature might be, if I am facilitating multiple games, I might want to drop down to select other games without having to switch to other browsers. And so if I then expose that as a drop down and it does the same thing, then that would be basically a free switcher, as it were. But let's see. So what would we do? We'd if we create a form that's just hidden, I assume that it doesn't appear. So this is going to be our game. We'll call it game selector. I don't need any classes. What I need is the event I copied. This dot submit. And then this is a WS send. Okay, that was really annoying. And now it stops doing it. Okay. So what does the WS send look like? This must be broken. Like because I don't understand, like there's no WS send here. I assume it's what we think it is. Are there any WebSocket examples? No. Oh, it's this example. Thank you. So it's going to send it to here when we do the WS send, and it doesn't take any parameters. So then what we want is we want an input hidden, type is text, and the th, what do we want here? The name and the value. So the name is going to be game handle, and hey, thank you, Cody. All right, so let's try this out. So I've got that. Let's go to our WebSocket handler. I'm just going to grab the whole thing for now. Let's go. I'm going to put it here for now. So the WebSocket configuration, that's the broadcaster. going to copy that too. Except here, I'm not going to implement broadcaster. And then I don't need those. Okay. So it should be compiling now. And we are. All right, so what I want to check is that when we connect, upon WS open, we submit this form and we get this. Which means we need to make sure that the configuration is set up right. That's game WS, so that's cool. It connects to the WebSocket handler, which is this thing. This thing is after connection established, after connection closed. This handles the incoming message. So basically, this is where we should see this get submitted to here. So let's see what happens. Let's log in. We're blue. We'll host a game. Now we'll join a game. Those bulldogs are always rude. And let's inspect. Let's look at network. Oh, I forgot to record this, but it shouldn't matter. We should have seen something here. That doesn't look good. We were going to take that out anyway. Although, why does it have no such element? Oh, because we're not passing along on the path. Right. So that's okay. We knew that wouldn't work. That's the same thing. Not sure why it's happening so often. Okay, hold on. This is, let's, how's this working at all? Wait, so I thought we were, when we join, let's change this temporarily. Okay, let's retry this. So let's go back to the lobby. Let's clear that. And we'll join. Yeah, this should have come across. I'm not sure what's going on there. So let's look. So we got join. That's the request to the game. I'm not sure why it wasn't finding the game handle. Here's our WS, which was empty. Oh, probably because it's all in headers. Let's look at the headers. So here's the request URL. So that's the upgrade. I'm not sure what's happening here. This is the problem with trying to do something that's basically experimental in a non-trivial project. Let's, instead of doing a this submit, let's do an after WebSocket connects event. Is that right? Yeah. Still not sure why this game wasn't found. Because that's the correct handle. All right. Well, one thing at a time. Do we have the configuration set up correctly? Yeah, that looks right. So let's see. That's set up. Dispatcher servlet. Okay. Oops. This shouldn't matter. Ah, okay, good. So that does matter. Yeah, so what I'm concerned about is the WebSocket seems to be opening and then closing because the status is finished. So we're getting a yeah, we may not have our socket configuration set up right. Because we're not seeing any connects here. So let's go into here. And let's run it in the debugger. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually the logging in that's more annoying than creating the game. So let's clear that. Join game. Yeah, we're not getting our WebSocket connected. And so this is probably it retrying to connect. So what am I doing wrong? Are we getting configured? Okay, well, we are getting added as a handler. So this is being called. And our WebSocket handler is the broadcaster implementation. Um, the Spring security shouldn't matter because when it connects using the HTTP, yeah, it all just works. Because it basically gets the security principal from the HTTP request upgrade to the WebSocket, and then it just works. Yeah, and in Ensemble it's all secure stuff. So yeah. Let's do this. Let's disable the form and just see if we connect. So I wonder if this is forcing something to happen that is causing it to disconnect before it has a chance to do anything else. Or isn't giving it time to connect. I don't know. Well, it's clearly trying to connect, but I'm clearly doing something wrong. What does the console say? Apparently there's a syntax error somewhere. Oh, I wonder if that's causing a problem. That was Cody's fault. That was sitting out here. So let's just fix that. I don't know if that is causing a problem, but it certainly can't hurt to fix that. So let's go back to the console. Let's go back to the network, clear that, and join game. All right, well, that was not the cause, but at least gets that out of the way. So the WebSocket failed. Why? I feel like it's something really obvious. Let's go to Ensembler. So I wonder if having the WS Connect on the body is not a good idea. Let's move that out. And the other thing I want to look at is so game. Oh. Anybody see it? Who takes precedence at this endpoint? So let's do it this way. I think that will work better. Oy. As my dad used to say, oy vey. Oh, and I gotta change it here too. Stop, stop. That does explain a lot, yes. That explains everything. All right, so let's go back here. Let's log in. Host a game. That's there. No errors in our console. Our network is currently connected. We've got messages. All right, so now that we've fixed that, wow, so how do I prevent that kind of error in the future? I feel like that should be a configuration error. I think Spring should handle that. I think it should say you already have something mapped to that endpoint. All right, let's clean up a bit. So let's go back to here. No, not here. Here. Let's put that back and we can get rid of that. So this was throwing exceptions because it was receiving the name of a game of WS. And this will learn me to put message in here, which might have helped. So let's put a message here. Whoops, that should be on the string. And then that. Hey, Dodo to Attitude. Yeah, I'm going to reset the timer for a bit because I have not made as much progress as I'd hoped. Let's do that. There. So if I had had this, this probably would have led us to figuring this out sooner, because I would have seen WS. I might have seen WS, although the long stack trace didn't help. Are you talking about the same video? The response to safe? I actually haven't watched it yet. It's always the same. All right, so now that we've got that connected, I'm going to keep this on a div just because there's something about putting it on the body that makes me uncomfortable. I don't know. But now we can turn this back on and see what happens. So let's turn off all our breakpoints here. We don't need those. And let's stop this and run it. Yeah, so you know what? We weren't seeing this before. We weren't seeing the WebSocket connection established. So I think that somewhere deep inside of the initialization, it knew it couldn't do it, but did not throw an exception, which I think it should have deserved an exception. So here we see the WebSocket connection established. If we go into the configuration and we swap this back to what it was broken before, yeah, see, but no exception thrown. Oh wait, there's the WebSocket connection. Oh, never mind then. Oh, I connected to both. Hold on. Let's try it one more time. So I think this is I think this is the problem. Async request not usable exception. I think underneath, it's trying to also hook up the WebSocket endpoint to the same endpoint that there's already a get and a post mapping. Unless that's the front end trying to connect. It might be the front end trying to connect. So I think we get no exceptions at all. I think we get nothing. That's definitely a bug. Yeah, the connection established async handler is likely the Tomcat servlet handler wondering what the heck is going on with this WebSocket thing. But by then it's too late. But it's clear that the WebSocket connection on the server side failed. And we are not told about it. And I think that's a bug. Because if it had thrown an exception, it would have saved me, what, half an hour, 45 minutes of troubleshooting? All right. Yes, make sure that you've got a clearly different endpoint prefix. My guess is probably not a lot of people use the raw WebSocket configuration. They probably, if you're going to use it, I mean, for the longest time, I was using the Stomp version. So it wouldn't surprise me that it's not widely used. It's there. Not a very useful to string message. But it there's clearly somewhere an exception is being caught and ignored in some way. I don't know. Um, I think a nicer toString there would also be helpful. Okay, so now if we do it correctly, so we don't see anything here either. I wonder if I turned up the logging, if I might see something, but it won't be until the front end connects that we actually see a logging message, which is probably my log. If we look at actuator, yeah. All right, so let's now go to the lobby. Let's clear this. So we got the WebSocket connection established. Oh, and I changed it to call the, so now we should see something on the console. No. Let's fix it again. So we said we wanted this to be this dot submit. Let's do an inspect. So we've got the form here. It's hidden, so that's nice. Even though the form itself is not hidden, because the only thing that's inside of it is a hidden field, but it does have the correct value for the game handle. So let's see if we can get it to do the right thing. Oh, right. Thank you. Let's do that. Is that looking like what we think it looks like? Got this. So we got the connect. This submit doesn't seem to work. I could just add a submit button. And then we can troubleshoot whether this does the right thing. But right now I'm not sure what this does. So let's refresh that. Refresh the page. That did something. So it did not do a send. This is the GET request. Oh, there it is. And there's the payload, which it's not expanding for us, but that's fine. So let's try it again. Let's restart the server this time. And let's move off this page. All right. Refresh the page. Create a game. Join that bitter mouse. That's the join. That's the WebSocket. Okay, so the WSend is working. The form is working and sending the right information. I just need to have the right incantation for the form to self-submit. So either it's an event problem, or it's this.submit is wrong. But I'm happy that at least we got to this point. And likely if we look inside the payload, which is inside of our WebSocket broadcaster, we can look at the payload. I'm not sure what, oh, it's the message that we want. Is it get payload? Because I don't trust you, but it looks that way. Okay. So that means that will have to parse as JSON and then do the right thing, but that's fine. So let's restart. Oh, I know what I wanted to do also. I did want to call because I want to see if I've got the event wrong or if it's the self-submit that's wrong. And I closed my window. Oh, there it is. So it must be that I've got the event wrong because I'm not seeing anything in the console log. I wonder if I should try the other way. Let's even though it should work the other way, And let's just do and reload that. Yeah, so for some reason, that ain't working. What if we move this to here? Oh, is this a bug? Oh, great. Oh, and this bug has been open for a while. Oh, interesting. So there must be something with the initial load. So I guess I could add it as a handler this way. Let's try that. I didn't even think to look that this was a bug. So let's go register another script. We want open. I don't understand. Are people spelling event EVT because they don't want to be confused with another EVT or something with event? Is that like another keyword or I don't know. I see that all over the place. Like this works fine. I don't understand. Okay. Characters are expensive. I mean, sometimes like people do that because it would conflict with some keyword or some class that's everywhere, but yeah. Yeah, I should be able to. I was just wondering, like, the person who suggested the code wrote it with EVT, which I don't understand why. All right, let's restart. Oopsie. Let's all go to the lobby. All right. Hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. There we go. Wait a second. Hold on a moment. That's this one. So my guess is there's some order of operations issue. My guess is, yeah, my guess is there's an order of operation issue that the WebSocket is being initialized before before the DOM is finished loading. Yeah, I feel like this WS Connect is happening before it had a chance to process and add the listener, register the listener for the form. Yeah. Um, it's saying there's a syntax error though. Can I not use event here? Is that what it's complaining about? Maybe I can't use event there. Because otherwise, what's the... Unless this is not allowed? I'm not confused by the error. Cannot read properties of null. Is that saying document body is undefined? I mean, I could just do window, right? I don't understand that. I'm no JavaScript expert. Yes, thank you. There it is. That serious starfish. There's the event. It's open. That's all good. And there's the type. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what the right place to do the add event listener would be. But clearly it's not document body. I don't know. Can we submit the form now? So we know this works. So now I've got to do document, oops, document, query, find, what was it? How do I query? How do I find the it might be safer to put them at, well, they're not deferred, so they're executed pretty early. Thank you. Get element by. I'm like query, query, query. Get element by ID. What did we say the ID was? Game selector. Can I just say submit? Will JavaScript do that for me? Let's try that first. Is that not the ID? Game selector. No? Oh, we're not on the page. Like, why can't I find it? There we go. Let's try that again. Documents, get element by ID. No, not animations. Game selector. Okay, and then on that, I should be able to say submit. So it did something, but what did it do? Let's first of all take out this. It did reload the page, which was a concern I had when I first thought about the form being submitted. Does WSend prevent a post? And that's an interesting question, because if it does, that's sort of not great. I don't remember seeing that in the docs, what WSend does. So let's see. Are we connected? We are now connected. So we get the game handle, but interestingly enough, as part of the headers, we also have the current URL anyway. So we have access to the game handle. Let's clear this. Is it not submit? I don't understand. So it cleared the console, and it does look like it reconnected. So is the WS send not correct then? Yeah, so I don't understand why directly invoking it doesn't work unless HTMX just doesn't see it. Because it should be the natural event. It might just be easier for me to write some very small amount of JavaScript instead of trying to get WSN to work. Because there's something I'm not understanding. Which I think is fine. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Hey there, you. Well, learning any library takes longer than I would not necessarily agree that it would take longer than to do it than to hard code it. Although I think the WebSocket stuff is certainly under documented. Yeah. Well, the current Erodote's attitude is that when this form is supposed to self-submit, so we could do a document get element by ID. Hey, how'd you know? This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you, Cody. We expect that this, when the WebSockets open, it'll do a submit, and I was trying to kick it off in the console by calling submit, which should have caused this to do a WS send. Let's try it this way and see if that works. And I gotta stop sitting on the page because that's not gonna work. So I have a very strong suspicion that the WS send is also causing a post, because we can see it's constantly reconnecting, and we can also see in the browser history that it's done that. Can I basically say none? It wouldn't be action none, it would be method. I don't think I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I don't think I know enough about how WS send is working, but it does not seem to be suppressing its normal behavior. So let's forget that. Yeah, no, of course, it's clear that the get element by ID was working. It's just that WSN does not seem to be preventing the normal behavior of the submit. I suppose I could do a different trigger, but now that feels like I may as well just write 2 lines of JavaScript. So let's do that. So what the heck? Oh, now it's got really confused about the what's a comment. That's hilarious. Okay. So we want when we do the WS open, we get the event. Yeah, we basically want this. And so now the question is how do I get the game handle in here? I can just pull it from... Can I pull it from the URL? I could pull it from the URL. That seems kind of awkward. Let's leave that there. Because I know I can use th to inject code into JavaScript. I did that a while back. But let's... Let's just do that. Let's just do it the right way. I think this is just what I want. So here we'll add to script th inline, and then we'll basically do a connect. It's a few brackets. We'll basically do something like that. And this is game handle. And this is, what was it? Game view.handle. It's not all that many brackets. It's only 2. All right, let's try that. Moles are always polite, yes. Okay, so we got that. And look at that. We've got to connect. So now I just have to interpret that on the receiver side. I don't think I want to go and convert it to JSON, although I feel like I might regret that if maybe I should. But yes. We have connection. All right, and on that note, I am overdone for today. So next time we will finally be able to. So I'll have to reconfigure all the WebSocket stuff to now that we've gotten it working. We'll fix all that stuff. We'll then start being able to broadcast the notifications and all that stuff. So this was much harder than expected, although thanks to Suiji and folks for helping out. Appreciate it. So have a good rest of whatever day is left for you. If there is none left, then have a good night. And I will see you next time. My next planned stream is tomorrow. Same time as today, 12 p.m. PDT, 7 p.m. UTC. And I'll see you then. Bye.